Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, the ReConnect Application Overview, Network Deep Dive. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Richard Jenkins, our ground field representative. Richard?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so glad you could join us. And we have an hour here to get through this information, so we're going to get right to it. Thank you, Scott. The agenda, as you can see here, is heavily. Uh, we're going to get right to the meat of the network tab. Um, Definitions, the interdependencies will be the main thing we're going to discuss, and then just some other details, and then we're going to wrap it up hopefully with some time to answer some of your questions. Next slide. So definitions. Um, so some key things that you want to be you'll want to understand as you get into this portion. We use some abbreviations of some of the longer terms, but the one you'll most likely be using is the proposed funded service area and the non-funded service areas. Those have specific meanings, and you can read from the slides what they are here. But just the key takeaway here is if define or decide early if you're going to have non-funded service areas in the application, because you have to make that determination early. If you don't, it could upset everything going forward. Other key terms are the capital investment workbook and the capital investment schedule, and those are specific schedules that are provided for you to build out the types of items you're going to have in your network and when you're going to be able to, or when you propose to construct those or use those assets. Next slide. Application interdependencies is the key to everything here. So, and this slide has three parts to it, but you gotta understand that it's about consistency. Um, so, Scott, if you'll just scroll through these, you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah. So your build out timeline is dependent on your construction scheduling. Your service area is dependent on the PFSAs and the non-funded service areas, and each part of the of these elements report and depend on the accuracy of the others. So even if it shows how network information pulls information from the financials, which is a different portion of the application. So it stresses working from left to right through the application. Next slide, please. Again, plan accordingly. So, like I said, the financial tab relies on data from the Construction Investment Workbook, CIW. It also depends on information from the capital investment page. Your composite economic life is determines your obligation and your loan payment repayment period. So the term, if you're in a loan, if you're in a grant, it determines your obligation period, and all that relies on consistency. Um, you need to know that one description informs another, or one portion informs another, and having any inconsistencies there can cause an upset as you go forward. Next slide. Okay. So some more, we'll go into details about the network design here. So here the takeaway is you must um, propose a network that's capable of providing 100 by 100 symmetrical service to each customer. That doesn't mean that every customer has to take that service. You just need to provide details that that can be done with the network you're proposing. Um, we want a detailed narrative, and it's required. The more detail, the better. Um, we want to know what technologies you're choosing and why. Um, be careful of venturing into the areas that um, we can't work with, which is satellite and mobile slash cellular network uh, entities. Um, they're not eligible expenses. Um, we don't consider cellular as fixed wireless. If you're proposing some new technology that's innovative, make sure you include all the references supporting that, the standards, even going as much as showing this product internet sites. Uh, we want to see and be able to determine that your network is capable of performing the services that you're claiming. Um, Next slide. Some key elements of your network description. Um, so we want to see it. I use this term a lot, soup to nuts. We want to know everything about your proposed network. And really, you'll see in later slides, your existing network. We'll need to see how there's correlation and how they interact. Um, uh, so, we want to see access, distribution, core, all those elements. Um, we want you to give us some examples of your or some examples of items we may want to see include the speeds, the various packages that you may be offering, coverage areas, especially if it's a wireless project. We may want to see your RF propagation studies. Well, no, we would. We would want to see things like that. Subscriber counts, services, the premises, not only households, but if you're in a rural area, are there going to be smart farms, or is there precision agriculture? So discuss all of those things to make sure that you're giving us the best description of your existing network. Next slide. So the key elements of, again, and I stress all this, they're all key, but you want to use these tabs to discuss and provide us details. One of the key takeaways here is consistency. I know and I'll keep doing this, is being consistent from left to right in the application. We want to know how the proposal will meet the requirements. We want to see build out descriptions and diagrams, and not just high level block diagrams. Don't minimize anything. Be, if anything, err on the side of being more descriptive so that we can understand what you're proposing. Next slide. And I mentioned a high level block diagram here would not be something that we would want to see. We do want to see a block diagram, but we want those to be, we want it to be comprehensive, showing all the interconnections, all of the network components, your proposed traffic, your NOC, I'm sorry, your network operations center, all of those things shown in a diagram showing how they flow together and their interdependencies. We want to see, like I said, like the slide says, distance, capacity, location. uh, electronics, network electronics, show your proposed technology, so, and if you know who you're working with and your technologies, describe the part number, the item number, the manufacturer, and that helps us understand a lot too. We have very competent engineers that review this stuff, and they like to see that information. It makes their job easier to understand your network. Um, I like to see that we have maximum and minimum ranges or distances involved in that block diagram. So it's easy to uh, take things for granted if you just show a straight line and there's no distance, so that we can judge what the scale of the project is from that block diagram. Um, we want to ensure that the architecture again is consistent with the network description. Um, so in other words, everything should harmonize and support each other. Um, Common facilities such as the existing network, the proposed network, the capacity, location, everything must harmonize and be consistent. Next slide, please. Um, this isn't, it says it's an optional field in this slide. I think that minimizes what we actually want to see as far as existing network description. I think an optional field uh, description is minimalizing it. If you have existing network, let's face it, your existing network is going to interface with your proposed network. So we want to see those details. If you fail to include your existing network with the same detail and the same consistency as um, your proposed network, it could adversely affect your application. We want to see how that proposed network will leverage the how the existing network would leverage the proposed network, showing how that that it's not we don't want to look at it as a foregone conclusion that your network will operate within the proposed network. So we'll want to see, all the existing load information. We'll want to see your interconnections. We'll basically want to see, is your existing network overloaded, and is it going to compromise the proposed network? Include all the primary elements, just like you would in the proposed network: access, distribution, core, and tell us what it's capable of, basically. Okay, next slide, Scott. And sometimes I get ahead of myself as I describe things. There's so much information here, but some more detail just so that we can drive the point home. Thoroughly discuss the interconnection between the existing and proposed networks. You want to fully demonstrate how those things will interact, and will the existing network leverage on your ability to make sure that there's 100 by 100 service simultaneously to all services, to all premises. And a big key is the existing network under construction, and that comes into play in a couple of different locations. But if it's still under construction, or tell us when that network is going to be ready to interface. If it does us no good for you to provide details on how your proposed network will rely on your existing network if we don't know that it's up and running and in service. This is for the fixed wireless applicants. Be prepared to provide lease and land documents in the agreement section. upload licenses if you're using licensed spectrum. And again, key detail about the existing network. You know, I have somewhat of an RF background, and I keep pushing this as I like to see what your propagation looks like when I'm helping with these things. It goes a long way. So that information provided could tip the scales in your favor, and opposite if it's not provided. So being able to see how that technology will propagate and deliver an adequate signal could make the difference in your feasibility here. Next slide. Um, so we're going back to the actual regulation, and this is boiling it down into a couple of slides so that we can get the point across. But it's 7 CFR 1740 61 paragraph C. So uh, these are major evaluation criteria. If you skimp on this, or you try to you don't provide the detail that we need, technical feasibility could be left lacking, and it can be leaving it out can be detrimental to your application. Um, and we could go as far as just rejecting the application based on the inadequacy of the technical on technical feasibility rounds, because we don't understand existing and proposed network interoperability. Next slide, please. Again, components from the regulation that kind of drives home what we talked about in the previous slides. Keying in the network diagram, including, the cables, routes, access points, other equipment, tell us what size fiber in between this point and this point. Make sure you are explicit on the build out timeline and milestones. The construction investment schedule. When are you going to be able to accomplish the goals? The other thing, and we'll touch on this further, but the professional engineer certification is a must. Provide copies of all required licenses. If you require a CLEC or an ILEC license, make sure you provide that. And another thing that's key here, how much of this, the operation of this network, not really the construction, that's a different situation, but the operation of the existing or proposed network relies on contractors or other vendors. And another key thing to remember here is Buy American requirements apply throughout the project. For every item, Buy American applies. Okay, we're ready to move on, Scott. You'll notice that in the network tab, there are 6 sections. The network design, which we emphasized here, but not only that, the build out timeline and milestones, the capital investment workbook, capital investment schedule, capital contributions, and the network documents. They are all integral to showing us a thorough and usable network. So don't, again, I preach consistency and moving from left to right in the application. Next slide, please. Okay. Build out speed. I think everybody understands that you have to be able to show a network that is capable of 100 by 100 simultaneous services to all premises in the PFSA. Again, not every customer has to accept it 100 by 100. There can be different packages, but if every customer would, that network, you should be able to show that that network has that capability. Um, uh, Area eligibility relies on access to high-speed internet by households. Project eligibility relies on the build-out speed provided to those premises, houses, farms, businesses, etc. Next slide. Um, Here we'll touch on PE certification. Um, we have a sample of what we want to see regarding your professional engineer certification. Um, the engineer must be licensed in one of the states where your project will take place. Uh, don't rely on a vendor certified technician or even a vendor engineer. I would use an independent professional engineer. Um, that engineer should be qualified to review network technology. Um, the only place where an in-house engineer would be eligible to sign this document or certify it is if he is a professional engineer registered in the state where you are performing the work. Next slide, please. Build out timeline and milestones. So technology type. Um, that's going to determine the time frame of your milestones. We're on a with a fixed wireless or a combination of fixed wireless and fiber, fiber coax. I'm sorry, just a combination of fiber or fixed wireless. Um, we would want to see those milestones presented in a quarterly uh, time frame. Um, in an annual for an annual basis for fiber to the prem, fiber to the home, a hybrid fiber coax situation. I'm hard pressed to come up with a other example, but if there is something that doesn't fit in those uh, concise categories, that's where you would provide that under an annual time frame. You want to be concise and precise on the description of the activity and what progress you hope to achieve within that milestone period. Next slide. Um, so the timeline is based on a 5-year project build out. Um, so it's based on 5 years from the date funds are made available. And that includes, the bridge year plus years 1 through 5 of the build out period. The bridge year is the year before construction starts. So it'll be a little different than what you're seeing in the construction investment schedule uh, that only shows the construction years. Um, and again, we preach consistency. If your construction investment schedule shows 1 million in year one, the timeline must show that $1 million is being spent in this year or that year. If your construction is complete or proposed to be complete before the end of year 5, provide something in the milestones. You don't want to just have it fall off. You want to say loan repayment starts or adding subscribers or I don't like the term regular maintenance, but if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing in year 5, before in year 5. Next slide. So support, reasonableness. You want to provide justification for every milestone. Um, you want to refer to all the build out uh, interdependencies, the planned construction method. You want to show us what's your workforce size, how many premises are you passing, are you using contracting or force count labor to do the work? Um, so we want to see it all in a logical sequence. Um, and again, let's talk about limitations. Is it topography, construction, the weather even? So there could be many issues that are unique to your situation. So refer to those in your uh, in considering how to define your milestones. Um, you know, and include your engineers in planning and make sure that you understand and they understand what your individual challenges may be. Um, and the other thing, again, consistency. Make sure that your subscriber and financial projections support your milestone, vice versa. Everything I can say in ReConnect that most things most parts of the application re, re, report into or rely on other details within the application. Next slide. So we'll look at the capital investment workbook briefly here. Um, so what it does is um, it establishes that the capital investment workbook basically establishes your budget. Um, it has there's 4 sections there, and for each proposed funded service area. Also, remember that if you didn't check yes in the beginning stages of the application that you were going to have non-funded service areas, then it's not going to allow it's not going to allow those sections to be populated. So make sure that when you plan your application, you know exactly what items or what elements are required, um, so that you're not stumbling around towards the middle of the application and looking for where you put information that's required or is needed for your project. Um, remember common network facilities. Also other costs. You know, we want everything to be in a budget category. There's a place for all of the costs, and you need to define what they are and be consistent. Next slide. Um, remember when you're looking at asset at the budget and your service area costs, uh, it should all be within an appropriate category. Your asset cost should be the labor, um, and cost of installation plus the material. Uh, don't create separate line items for contingencies. Those are built into the final cost. Um, uh, if you're proposing a, a larger project than the RUS funding you're asking for, then those extra costs become a requirement of the project and are put in the legal agreement. Um, okay, allow time for the asset costs to be input individually for each PFSA and NFSA. Remember, the project build out is 5 years. Next slide. Um, service area cost and general comments. These line items help you derive the composite economic life that sets your term for a loan and your commitment or obligation for a grant. Um, you must, at a minimum, you're going to have to identify the basics. Is it aerial? Is it buried? I don't I think you should do a little more than the minimum uh, in identifying the asset. Uh, there may be instances where you need to adjust uh, put in separate costs for different assets because that may help or hinder your economic life. Uh, so there's an other explain option for uncategorized items. So you do have that option to explain a situation that is unique. Next slide. Each service area, you'll input the item name, description, quantity, and unit cost for every asset. That's for every proposed funded service area and every non-funded service area. Be consistent. Again, if you have the same 8 or 9 items for each PFSA, you'll enter those same items in every PFSA. You'll name them the same. Uh, if you have, here we say 15 PFSAs, you'll have to enter comprehensive cost information for each one. You put the same level of effort into the proposed areas as the non-funded service areas. Next. So using the asset category, the correct asset category, we have a list of asset categories, and I think every one of those from that drop down in the application, you can find a place for every asset category. Network and access, prefab equipment, you're going to have a place to put everything, and everything needs to be in a place. So engineering costs, you'll record those as professional services, and don't just give us a lump sum professional services. Like I said, we want it in each PFSA. Tower costs, they're going to be across the board in network and access. And you can provide information about the assets at a high level rather than breaking the assets down by specifics. Next slide. These are some of the asset categories and the specific asset type. It's here for an example to show you what category some of the items may land in. And these are pretty concise, and you should be able to use these effectively one-to-one without having to ponder which one they go in. They're pretty self-explanatory. Next slide. Common network facilities costs. Some general comments. You're going to enter the name, description, quantity, cost, just as you were in a common or I'm sorry, in a non-funded or a proposed funded. You need to allocate costs from those common network facilities to the PFSAs, or even in a certain instances, NFSAs will have, there'll be something in the network that shows that those costs are allocated to the non-funded service area. So some of the methods of doing that are based on number of subscribers, and whatever method you use, it should be a defensible. You need to explain it to us. You need to provide the work you've done to come up with that percentage of allocation. You can attach documents to the network section of the application to justify any of your assumptions and methods. Next slide, please. So this is kind of a graphical representation of what I just explained. So here you have non-funded service areas, funded service areas, and then it shows how the common network facilities enter into that and how you may divide up certain sections and assign them to different funded service areas or non-funded service areas. So this is a graphical representation of that explanation. Next slide. So other costs, some general comments. You again, be consistent. Name, description, quantity, unit cost. You're going to prorate those costs between PFSA, NFSA, under some appropriate formula. Talk about the number of subscribers in the PFSA, your method as your method, if that's what you choose. And again, these things can be uploaded into the network section, all the supporting documentation you need to justify your methods. Next, please. Some of the asset categories and other costs. Construction vehicles are a support asset, construction equipment, and both of these um, for general use in the construction of the network. Um, Professional services can include engineering services, architectural services, but also there could be some specific services that are unique that are provided by a specific contractor, not just a general contractor, but some other thing like permitting, routing, traffic control that's unique to your situation. Maybe that's a professional service. So your GFR will be able to help you when you, well, I'm sorry, this is the application, but I'm jumping ahead because I am a GFR and I deal with this. But in the application, if you are, uh, if you think there's any professional type services, allow for those in that category. Next slide, please. Um, no operating costs. Just remember, nothing, you don't cross the line there. We can't support any operating costs. For the example here of a billing system, uh, that's, existing billing system that you're going to incorporate new services and customers, it's not an eligible asset. Support assets are only eligible, the construction equipment, only eligible if the asset will be required for the installation or operating need of the network. Next slide. Okay, so pre-application expenses, they may not exceed 5% of the award. You'll need to list those expenses and on a separate line item and note them as our environmental. Um, Environmental pre-application costs are limited to 3% of the award, and they are part of the overall 5%. Things to remember about acquisition. If you're contemplating acquisition in this application, it's only applicable to the 100% loan product, and it's limited to 40% of the actual award amount for the acquisition. The other 60 must be used to upgrade the network or incorporate the network in your net, so only 40% can be used for the acquisition. If there's any other cost, you need to provide uh, a clear description. Now, for round 5, which is what you're applying for here, you can bring pre-application expenses from a round 4 applicant or application into this. You should create a separate pre-application expense and describe it as applicable to round 4. The NOFO will have clear directions on that. Thank you. Sorry, next slide. Professional services, cost associated with the project assets and construction is under this category. They're inclusive of all PFSAs, and all asset costs do not don't put those professional services under the service area asset cost. Some examples of those, like I said, are of professional services are the engineering costs, archaeological monitoring, environmental services, in-house engineering, And again, a reminder that post-award environmental services are limited to 3% of the award amount. One thing I want to touch here on in-house engineering, you need to make a clear and distinct description if you're using in-house engineering and expect to be reimbursed for that. You need to have that described explicitly in the other costs. Next slide, please. Um, so our CIW summary will capture all of the project costs. You'll enter the uh, loan request amount. If you're requesting a 50/50 and you're doing a cash substitution, you'll uh, summarize it there. We're going to calculate the match, and you'll know what you'll have to cover. We will validate the math on pre-application expenses, and the application must show how you will cover all project costs. Loan, it has to be a soup to nuts coverage of the entire cost of the project. Next slide, please. Okay, the capital investment schedule. I'm going to have to speed it up a little bit here, but you need to complete this. The key thing is completing the CIW. I've preached from left to right in the application, and that's what you need to do. You'll complete a schedule for each PFSA and NFSA. If you don't check that NFSA was identified, it's not going to be available in your CIW. Again, professional services allocated within the professional services asset type, and everything should harmonize with the build-out timeline. If you propose a tower in year two, then the CIS should show that expenditure or that investment being made in year two as well. Everything flows back and reflected, should be reflected in the pro forma. Next slide, please. Contribution schedule. If the funding information table on the construction investment workbook contains matching funds, other funds, or cash substitution, here's where you'll reflect the source of those funds and supply the supporting documentation for the availability of those funds. If it doesn't contain matching funds, or your application doesn't include matching funds or other funds, capital contributions will not be active. So make sure that's what I mean. It should harmonize. So if you get to this point and you're going to have some type of capital contribution and you won't be able to move on to the next portion of the application. Next slide. Network documents. Here's where you get to explain everything or provide documentation for everything you've claimed. You're going to upload supporting documentation related to the timeline, the capital investment workbook, and you can review and modify these things. So you'll also see them within the document tabs. I haven't really explored file size limitations and what they may be, but you can refer back to the user manual for those. Next slide. ReConnect resources. So I think we're ending up just right about on time. This is some information that's available to you, some resources to contact us, talk about, one thing that I want to emphasize, and something that maybe I didn't talk about here, is that when you're in the application working on something, there is a contact us button, if you will, there for your use. If you have an issue, you can, from within the application, you can click that and send us a question, and we'll try to be as timely as possible to give you a response. But here's where all of the information regarding ReConnect Round 5 can be found. And one of the best places and resources if you want to talk to somebody quickly is your GFR. So that last entry there on this page, you need to know your GFR and talk to them quite often. So, all right, we'll move on. So wrapping up, and that goes right into our Q&A.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ken Wiseman with the RUS Telecom Technical Assistance Branch. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to get into some questions and give some answers. I'm going to take the first couple so that Richard can have a small break. First of all, I want to provide a friendly reminder to everyone who is applying under round 5. Our deadline for applications is May 21st, 2024 at 11:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, May 21st, 2024 at 11:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, let's cover some questions. The first question, very good question. Some of the existing network details are considered proprietary. How is this information protected? Here at RUS Telecom, we are able to keep the information regarding networks and a number of other proprietary details about the applicant just as that, proprietary. Feel free to mark anything that you consider to be proprietary as such when you are attaching documents to your application. Be mindful that the public notice filing, public notice response process for all applications will mean that the polygon for your proposed funded service area is published, but we do not publish the details about the network design that you are submitting to us or the financials of your organization or other items that might be considered proprietary. The next question that we have, this came from a couple of folks. What type of professional engineer is required to sign off? And for this, I'm going to reference back to our FAQs that we have on the website. If you go to the ReConnect website and click on Forms and Resources and scroll down, you'll see our FAQs there. And I'm going to read right from this. All applicants are required to submit a certification covering the following: network design, network diagram, project cost, build out timelines and milestones, capital investment schedule. All of these must be certified by a professional engineer. The PE must be licensed in at least one of the states where the proposed project will be constructed. The selection of the PE does not require prior RUS approval. However, it is the applicant's responsibility to hire PEs experienced in the design and construction of broadband networks. All right. Richard, for your first question, does the need for symmetrical service for all subscribers apply to customers who pay a lesser price for a reduced download upload speed?
Well, so let's clear that up. Your network has to be capable of providing 100 by 100 service to every customer. That doesn't mean that you can't offer other service packages at a lower speed, at a lower rate, a lower price. It's just your network must be designed to provide 100 by 100 service to every premise, customer, household in that proposed funded service area or in the entire application, really.
Thank you for that. We're going to talk a little bit now, Richard, through these next couple of questions about different types of expenses that are allowed. So several of these are financial questions about the expenses. Okay. Our first one, are professional engineering certification costs an eligible expense?
Well, that would be a pre-application expense. So yes, within the confines of the percentages, the allowable, yes.
Okay, our next one. Please provide more guidance on what constitutes a project management cost.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question from my point of view. Um, Project management is more of an operations uh, endeavor when you're talking about that coming from a owner applicant standpoint. We do allow certain costs in the post award uh, uh, realm of the application. You can hire professional engineers to help you with the contract management and to help you with the customer services. But anything that would be supporting salaries or any type of uh, operational, really anything is not allowed or not provided for in ReConnect. So you can support the engineering staff, the if there's some direct content or input to designing or building the network, we can support those things. But and we reimburse that based on a uh, at cost, but we can't support the salaries of your CEO or CFO or your accountants or things like that as project managers in this program.
Okay. And Richard, you did so well. You answered the next question as part of that. It asks about in-house project management costs being eligible. You just talked about how salaries of associated staff are considered operating costs.
Right.
So our next cost-related question, the application guide allows for contingency construction costs as eligible award costs. What is an acceptable level or percentage of contingency construction costs?
Well, I would be hesitant for me to give you an exact percentage. You're going to have to base that. There's so many factors. Where are you constructing? Um, what are you constructing? What's the topography? What's the geology like? Is it aerial? Are there contractors available? So all those things come into play, and it's up to you to set a reasonable contingency amount. You got to remember, if you borrow it, you got to pay it back. If it's a grant, that's going to increase your match requirements. So it has to be a reasonable assumption on your part, taking into consideration your situation. Because for me to just say, I'll just add 10% to something, that would be, I could be way grossly overestimating or greatly underestimating what your contingency should be in that situation. It could, supply and demand, what's going to change there. So you've got to make some basic um, logical decision based on your situation and where you're at in the market and the country.
Thank you for that. The next one, again, we're talking about costs, and likely a number of folks are trying to figure out what would be allowed versus disallowed. Here's the question. Would a financial consulting group be considered professional services and covered with the 5% that we can recover on the first draw, no greater than $15,000?
Yeah, I think that would be considered a pre-application expense if they're um, helping you put together the pro forma and the other financial requirements of the application. Uh, we wouldn't consider accounting support post-award in the award category or the amounts. That can't be considered a contingency, for instance. So yeah, post-award or pre-app expenses, I'm sorry, pre-award, pre-application expenses, yes. Post-award, no.
So, Richard, that would include things like financial feasibility and analysis costs.
Yeah, if it's associated with the application. So if they if you hire an accountant to put together your pro forma, that's what that's in my estimation, that's what the pro forma is. It's making assumptions based on your feasibility. So they're putting together those numbers based on where they're projected to be at a future date.
Okay. Let's see. We have two other questions that are different topics. I'm going to take the first one. It asks, is the latest version of the ReConnect application guide February 21st, 2024? Now, I want to talk a little bit about our guides this year. We have listened to the applicants, and we have, instead of just stuffing all this information, and I say that politely, but it's a ton of information,
Mm-hmm.
instead of putting all that in one guide, this year we have two guides. The program guide is dated February 21st, 2024. We also have the system user manual. The system user manual is what you can follow step by step and use to assemble and submit your application. Those are both listed on the ReConnect website. If you go to the main page and scroll down about halfway, click on Forms and Resources, and scroll down again about halfway, you'll see both of those guides listed there. They are unique. They are unique on purpose. So please take the time to check out both and use the one that you need most. Here you go, Richard. Can you discuss middle mile and what can be included, specifically pedestals or aerial splice cases for slack storage for potential drops on the mainline fiber route?
I was kind of fearing this question because middle mile is always controversial and confusing. So middle mile in the context that I'm going to explain it is a common network facility. So all of those items within reason are required to build a common network. So I would say everything that is needed for a common network facility to make the funded service areas or the proposed funded service areas to make their ability to operate, to make their ability to operate, you need all those items. You know, we're going to be able to decide if your common network facility or your middle mile network, as you described it, you don't want to show up as you're just building the access capability to serve an area that's not in a funded service area or in an area that's otherwise funded. So that's kind of it's a unique situation. And quite frankly, your general field representative is there for you in the application process as well. And I think your situation is probably unique, and you should reach out to your general field representative quickly and discuss your situation and get advice that's explicit to your situation, because I'm giving you generalities. And I don't want you to go off uninformed.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. We appreciate, or excuse me, a good answer. We appreciate that. So we have reached the 2:00 time frame there, and that will take us towards the end. I do have a couple of last items. Number one, this slide deck will be posted to the ReConnect website after this call. If you go to the main page, there is a blue bar below the picture, and one of the buttons that is there is the application, workshop, and webinar materials button that will take you to the application, workshop, and webinar material page, where you will find the slides for this and all of our other events that we have hosted. We will be posting later on a recording of this event that will be 508 compliant, as will these slides, so that you can use that as well. We invite you to use your general field representative, a contact list of which has been provided in the chat. You're also invited to use the Contact Us link to submit any questions that we could not get to today. We do have several that we could not get to because of time, but we are happy to answer them. And we also encourage you to use your general field representative if you want to discuss your project specifically. Thank you so much for joining us. Please be mindful of your deadlines. This concludes our event.